Tokyo Ghoul has always held a special place in my heart. It manages to stand out so well from the other series I've watched. With a signature brand of gothic light horror, it's equal parts disturbing and beautiful. The characters' personalities are marred by the depressive conditions of a ghoul's world. Happiness is a commodity in this series, as someone's always out to get you. The only safety is in strength and hiding. This breeds viciousness from those in control, and unrivaled hatred from those beneath. The city lights give away silhouettes of the depraved nocturnal underbelly, while also enticing people with the promise of a vibrant nightlife. These two appearances blend together right from the start, with the gruesome suffering of Rize's victims overlapping a beautiful backdrop. The height of gluttonous, abominable behavior, devouring bodies, blood running over her figure and into her mouth, in front of a vibrant display of colorful fish and city lights, with purples providing flair that stylizes her nefarious seductiveness. A shadow is held over her at all times, a complementary concealer to her illicit acts. This is our first ghoul, a creature of shadows, with more of a human concern for aesthetic than your typical monster. Right away they're implementing great atmospheric contrast. The rich night aesthetic is cut off by a luminous, lush, pleasant spring, which correlates with an equal shift in character presentation. Rize appears, clothed this time, in delicate attire, where unseen she was uninhibited, hyper-expressive, messy, and dangerous. In the light she's subtle, composed, careful, and innocent. Her clothing gives off a classy and traditional impression, sharply contrasting her prior grungy promiscuousness. Hers is the Venus flytrap character role that can be deciphered at a glance, but gets more nuanced on further consideration. This transformation also stands in for the life of ghouls more broadly, as they must be inconspicuous, never become suspect, lean into humanity, stop into a little cafe to intently read your new book. It's a clean look at the disguise ghouls have to put on in order to get by in the world. Our main character carries with him all these good qualities you might distinguish man from ghoul with. He's not putting on an act, he actually wants to have a nice bite at a cafe with his friend, and hopes to encounter perhaps a nice girl. But of course he finds himself in the wrong place at the wrong time, and those paths of human and ghoul, predator and prey would by design cross into one another, leading to the upending of all that peaceful spring joy, and without warning being usurped by a sudden torrent of bloodthirsty mayhem. One guiding question that fuels this series is, what can we take from Kaneki Ken? How much can we take before he breaks, before he turns away from what he was? This episode was an overbearing test that he never had a chance to prepare for. He was lured in by the quiet charm of Rize's movements, the soft tone of her voice, her fake tears and fear of the city night, an opportunity for him to be a valuable service to her. He opens up to her quickly, even sharing his father's passing and the comfort that his books provide. She draws out his hopes under those dazzling city lights. This early scene cultivates happiness within Kaneki's ordinary life, building to a level where he can hardly contain himself, as Rize intimately leads him on, then cuts sharply through that feeling, with a disorienting and devastating blow. This is Rize's recipe for torment. Get as close as possible, take over their mind, make them obsess, and then bring it all down as their life is taken from them, feasting on their lost dreams. This early picture of Rize is a thematic prelude to her role in Kaneki's life moving forward, where she would quite literally inhabit his mind later on, slowly manipulating him along this path to the ghoul that she exemplifies, driving him toward that other source of temptation: humans, women, flesh. The primal urges that would be imposed onto him by Rize's transplanted organs. This is literally a surgical degree of invasiveness onto Kaneki's mind and body. His life as a human would experience a metaphorical death to complement his biological reconstruction. There's even this subtle line of her saying that they do have a lot in common, which is an idea that would be stretched to its bounds, as he would claw and crawl towards salvation from the pain that exists only in the presence of his sustained humanity, as we'd witness in full effect at the end of the season when he rejects his caring nature, making this a pristine beginning as far as proper planning and overarching structure to this season is concerned. Kaneki's torture and awakening in episode 12 end us on a drastically heightened visceral product of the ideas that were planted abundantly in the very first episode. I think we can start to sense that this series has been crafted with great care, and that's what I like to see. If you like this sort of video, please like and subscribe, good friends, it's most appreciated. The merger scene visually depicts what I mentioned about the beauty and disturbance of this show quite vividly. Kaneki's consciousness drops into the cool blue bubbling water, the source of life, water untainted like his life had been up until now. Then out of the tangled darkness, a beautiful complementary red around Rize, a rising tide of blood brought in by the ravenous spirit he'd become host to, enticing him, corrupting him, blinding him, as Rize covers his eyes so that he can't see the darkness around him, while she caresses and draws him toward the warm embrace of evil. Kaneki is in drift, he's defenseless, falling further from the pure water's surface. His mind is dulled by the incident, making him moldable, a state that Rize is best suited to take advantage of. This is a recurring tool for reshaping Kaneki, a series of intense trauma, and the offering of dark relief to condition him away from his ideals, attacking him within the deepest corners of his psyche, to unravel him from the ground up, which may just coincidentally be the name of this season's opening song. The layered liquid setting visualizes all the intermingling forces at once, in an abstract aesthetic fashion, while being a fitting stage for rebirth to play out, as well as giving more range to the duality of the show's atmosphere, as after this stunning and calming scene, we cut immediately to miserable, decrepit Kaneki in a hospital bed, bearing that demonic eye for the first time. Already we're establishing a landscape of story under the surface of everything else, that's blurry to the main character. There's things happening to him that we can see, but he hardly can, and it gives the sense of deprived agency for Kaneki. How is he to resist that which he's unaware of? It's the idea of subconscious influencers pushing you to think a certain way, but not giving you a chance to consciously deliberate over it. As he says, it was like a strange dream. This is a seizing of his personal freedom, but also physically stealing his identity. He says he hasn't felt like the same person because someone else's genetics have been forced onto him. It reminds me of a more tangible version of dissociative identity disorder. Now with this unsightly transformation comes loneliness, alienation, self-hatred, all sorts of misery, and it's shocking to watch Kaneki unravel his newly designed nature. Shut away in a dark room, Kaneki tries to enjoy food again, a universal comfort for people, but no longer for him. The vile taste of his beloved food is his first taste of the joyless life ahead of him. From the jump, you can see just how expressive the characters are here. Our MC is sobbing, panicking, drooling, everything at once, and I like this a lot actually. I feel that characters are often suppressed in terms of emotional expression, where sometimes I'll be sadder than the damn character, and without a doubt if someone were in Kaneki's spot, they'd be a psychotic mess, and I love that that's exactly what we get out of him. I believe the strong green colors in the hospital and his apartment enhance the sickness he's experiencing. I'm curious to see if this is a consistent pattern, and the feelings of dread could hardly be conveyed more soundly than in this shot here. This is a show to help you forget your troubles and witness someone who's got it a lot worse. Help you forget about the problems in the world, because this one here is completely screwed up. As Kaneki walks through the city, you can hear his frantic thoughts, the disorienting static in his head, and the sporadicness of his focus. We're caught in the madness of his mind, and this helps connect us greatly with his experience. This is another excellent shot right here, where he's become a repellent to his own kind. He's the epicenter that the civilians move away from, displaying the alienation I mentioned with such clarity and eloquence through just one image. Now the focus turns to Kaneki's urges, his hunger in the fight against it, facing himself in the mirror, and not seeing the person he should, but rather that ghoul's eye staring back at him, the mark of evil, an image he despises. This is the picture of himself he denied throughout the season. He shatters the mirror, and is so desperate that he'd stab himself in the stomach to prove he's human. Even as a viewer, we can feel this in our gut. It's really gritty stuff. But contrary to most series, the recurring message is that there's just no use fighting back. This world is unforgiving to the degree you just have no other option but to play your role, and Kaneki has the necessary will to push against it, as hard as someone could, and while disheartening, it's a profound experience to watch reality grind away at this resilient spirit. The immoral force instilled in Kaneki hijacks his very senses. The smell of a human corpse is reminiscent of his mother's cooking, not just tasty food, but food with a deeply personal tie, food made with love. His brain has been rewired to perceive evil in this way. It's really sad to me, honestly. This all heightens greatly the invasive attack on his character. Rize is really everywhere, he even sees her staring back at him in the mirror. He must fight with his own body to resist throwing away his life for a bite. One hand pulling against the other, two minds in one body at war. He wants to stay a human, but this feeling would never cease. People just need to eat, and so do ghouls. This is inescapable, and no amount of determination can change that. That's the grim world we're exposed to in the beginning. Toka returns at the end of the episode to drive that message home. She says that, "This is ridiculous, why don't you just give in already? If you're in that much pain, then just eat." Which is exactly what plays out in episode 12 once again, where the pain is taken to 10, and the only way out is to be a ghoul, which we'll cover in another video. This episode does a few other things, like bringing Toka into the picture, a woman that acts as a minor counterforce to Rize, some relief for Kaneki. She brings a very chill goth vibe, the bridge to a more forgiving space for ghouls. While she doesn't glaze Kaneki or show him affection, that's how it's supposed to be. This is a starting point for their relationship. Her tough exterior makes for a more rewarding process in winning her over, and it's plenty for her to just show a little interest in helping him survive. That kindness alone leaps off the screen after what awful things we'd witnessed. She mentions the people at Antiku, which of course plays a major role, but along with Yamori's implication of the group that he works for in the beginning against Rize, we get just a couple breadcrumbs letting us know that this is an established world we're jumping into the middle of. Kaneki is like us in that way. He's pulled into the picture. His place in the world is updating rapidly from the very first episode, and I think this draws us into the series faster than if he were just an aspiring ghoul who'd always been one, or even if he wanted to be one. Usually an anime character's directive centers around some goal they have. I want to be this grand person who can climb to the top of the established hierarchy. But here it's just, I want to be what I was, and hold on to that for dear life. It's simple, but we can all relate to the value of the human experience. I find that quite compelling. But that's all for today, friends. Like and subscribe for more. This was your boy Woski, and I'll see you later. Peace.